What is good, YouTube, man? Today I'm back with you guys with the nation for another video. And today, man, we got some news. We have a couple of visits that we have made as the Las Vegas Raiders organization. So I'm here to report. I'm here to talk about it. And let's get straight into it. Now, there's three guys that the Raiders have hosted a top 30 visit with today. And those three are all on the offensive side of the ball. All three. Danny Gray, receiver, James Mitchell, tight end, and Eric Ezukanma, I don't know how you really say his name, receiver as well. So we have hosted all three offensive guys today for a top 30 visit. Now, I'm going to get into all the stuff right now. Let's start off with, you know what? Let's start off with the tight ends. We'll finish off with the two wide receivers. Now, starting off with the tight end, the Raiders have hosted top 30 as a top 30 visit with West Virginia Tech senior James Mitchell. He's 23 years old, 6'4", 249 pounds, tight end. Now, this is a man who did have a season-ending injury. So the stats that I'm reading to you are from 2020, not 2021 season. So keep that in mind. I believe in 2021 he only had 5 receptions because of that injury and knocked him out for the entire year. So this is a guy that you kind of have to look into just a little bit, but let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it now. 2020, he had 26 receptions for 435 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an average of 16.7 yards per reception. Not bad at all. Now, as you can see here, James Mitchell, this is his draft profile. The NFL, they kind of their grading system is, it shows here that he's a average, so to speak, 5.92. I'm gonna highlight this part right here where they says that he is an average or backup average backup or special teamer. Now, I like this about the NFL profile because what they do is that they give some negatives and some positives. So let's read out some of his strengths. Attempts to maintain proper posture as a run blocker. As we all know, James McDaniels does need some run blockers. He says uses strength to sustain and look for a finish. I like that. Bends and drives through stems and turns. Plays with plus focus for tougher catches. Amazing. Very durable through contact. We need that. We need that most definitely. Coordinated and athletic to make in-air adjustments. That's very, very big for these pass catchers. He made a ton of catches on screenplays. As we all know, that's a thing that Josh McDaniels likes to do, whether it's with his running backs or tight ends. This is the interesting one. Sneaky fast to stack yards after the catch, as well as competitive and tough when finishing his runs. And those are his strengths. Those are his positives. Some of his weaknesses are coming back from a season-ending knee injury, as I just mentioned that. That's why we had to read off his 2020 stats. Now, this is concerning to me because this weakness right here tends to lead to a lot of penalties, also known as holdings. Now, he says they say that one of his weaknesses is wide hands into his run blocking fit. As you all know, you can't have wide hands when you're trying to run block. That will lead to holdings, and we all know that when you're putting on that silver and black, those holdings get magnified most definitely. Another weakness says point of attack defenders batter his frame early in the rep. That's not too good. Needs to keep base under him when blocking. Seems like he needs to learn how to anchor when he's getting bull rushed. Inconsistent at running routes with his best play speed. So sometimes with these guys that are really fast, they don't really know how to run their route at full speed just because of how fast they are. And this guy is pretty quick for his size. Another thing is, it says it needs to up his physicality on the inside route. So those are just some plus and minuses on one of the players that we decided to host today. Like I said, James Mitchell, senior out of Virginia Tech, 23 years old, 249 pounds, standing at 6'4". What do you guys think? Do you guys think the Raiders should bring in another tight end? As we all know, at the moment, I believe we have Jacob Hollister, who we signed. Obviously, Foster Moreau and Darren Waller. I'm not too sure if Derek Carrier's on the roster. I'm pretty sure he's a free agent. Now, the next person we're going to go with here is Eric Ezukanma. I hope I said that right. But the Raiders are hosting a top 30 visit with Texas Tech junior Eric Ezukanma, 22 years old, 6'2", 209 pounds, with a vertical jump of 36.5 inches. That's pretty good. And he's also known as a guy that can take the top off. So it's interesting to see the Raiders are looking to fill in that wide receiver core. Not surprised by that by any means. It's pretty obvious, right? The Raiders didn't bring back Deshaun Jackson. The Raiders only have, I believe, Tyron Johnson on the roster. We missed out on Danny, what's his name? Um, Dimir Boyd. He ended up signing with the Falcons after he came in for a visit. So it looks like the Raiders are trying to attack speed. Now, much like we just did with James Mitchell, I will put up his draft profile. Now, pretty similar in terms of grade for the NFL. I'm not sure who is grading this, but it's pretty interesting. Now, prospect grade, they give him over an overall of 5.97. Again, average backup or projected to be a special teamer. Now we're going to go and read off his strengths like we did with James Mitchell. Now, this is interesting. Big target and team captain. That's a good strength. Led his team in receiving in all 3 seasons. As we know, he's only a junior. So since becoming a freshman, he led his team for 3 years in a row. That's pretty good. Ability to widen release to avoid press punch. That's good. Foot quickness to snap off slants and hitches, burst to pass and stack the cornerback downfield. As we know, that's very important when you're running those fades, those those 9 routes, those go routes. That's important. Squares to throw and shift body to protect the catch. Very good. His high points catch with full extension and strong hands. As we know, the Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels, he had a pretty damn good red zone offense last year, and I think that this may be a reason why we could be looking at him, right? When you have a guy that can high point the ball, full extension, strong hands, it kind of sounds to me like a red zone threat, right? Bodies up defenders during contested catches, kind of like what we were able to just say. Quick to grab and go underneath. Very good. And what I like the most about this here is that it doesn't look like he has many weaknesses, right? His weaknesses says routes lack expected polish of a 3-year starter. Okay, that's fair. Needs to sell the drive phase of his route. Okay, so maybe he's rounding off his routes more than making a cut. Too upright into intermediate break points. Very interesting. Now, it says it needs to play with better speed and variance. Inconsistent route adjustments to traffic. Now, that's kind of the opposite of one of the pluses that James Mitchell's had, right? He was able to adjust in air pretty easily. And it says easy catches turn into focus drops. Not something that I like, but this is an interesting thing that the NFL, profile has to offer. It says sources tell us he was a little beat up at the end of the season and he lost his starting quarterback, so that explains how he dropped off in production. This was said by a scout for an NFC team. Obviously, the Raiders are not an NFC team, so not much to worry, but interesting enough, we're looking at this maybe possible big body receiver, maybe a red zone threat in Eric Ezukanma, like I said, junior. Pretty good vert with 36.5-inch vert. That's a pretty damn good vertical jump in my opinion. Now, the last person that the Raiders decided to host for a top 30 visit was SMU senior Danny Gray, another wide receiver. He's 23. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds, 77-inch wingspan, and 9.5-inch hands. 40 time is 4.33. So again, pretty similar when it comes to the speed, right? It looks like the Raiders are trying to attack speed when it comes to the wide receiver group. As we all know, like we said, we still have Tyron Johnson on the roster, but we're not looking to re-sign Deshaun Jackson anytime soon from what it looks like. Now, interesting here, right? Out of Eric Ezukanma and James Mitchell, he has Danny Gray has the highest grade of the two. Now, their grade is traits or talent to be an above average backup. Interesting right there. Now, let's do the same thing that we just did. A lot of strengths. Explosive and loose-limbed with 3-level ability. It says sinks into soft spots of zone, making himself presentable. That right there, to me, is a very good trait to have. As we know, Hunter Renfrow, that's one of the reasons why Hunter Renfrow has been able to be successful so quick in his career, right? Because he understands where he needs to be, whether it's man or zone. He's able to find that that crease in zone, and he's able to present himself. So it looks like Danny Gray is somebody that can do the same. It says routes filled with athletic movements, long fluid strider in space, maintains high speed through turns and route stems. Very, very impressive. Relentless hand fighting as needed inside routes. Gains late separation to haul the contested catch on deep throws, which is pretty important for a guy that's only 6 foot. So that's interesting right there. Plus catch and run talent, amazing. Makes effort to find positioning as a blocker. We love that. We love to hear that. And this, again, as we know, the Raiders have been bringing in a couple of guys that can return those kicks and maybe take that load off of Hunter Renfro's back. And it looks like Danny Gray can also do that. Now, weaknesses: below average wingspan for an NFL wideout. In my opinion, I'm not too big on that. As we all know, Hunter Renfrow had the same knock when he was coming out of college, and look at him. He says needs additional play strengths. I definitely agree. Only at 180 pounds, you want to get up a little bit more. Disoriented finding the football against physical coverage, which is something that he will need to work on coming into the NFL. Drifts through stems, allowing coverage to drive and contest. So again, seems like another person that may rounding off his cuts in his routes instead of just making that complete stop and then bursting out of the break. Focus drops pop up in breaking routes, kind of like what I just said. Dropped would be touchdowns, passes in 2020 and 21. That's tough. Inconsistent vertical push on intermediate patterns. Interesting. He does definitely seem like the most talented guy that the Raiders have hosted for a visit out of the three names that we just talked about. But let me know, you guys. What do you guys think about the three guys that the Raiders have decided to host for a top 30 visit? Do you like any of them? We got Danny Gray, James Mitchell, Eric Ezukanma. What do you guys like with these guys? Do you want the Raiders to attack a tight end, a wide receiver? And how high would you take a wide receiver or tight end in this year's draft? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, Raider Nation. And if you are new to the channel, hit that sub button, hit that like button, comment in the comment section down below. I love you guys, Raider Nation, and I'm out.